Hi, we're going to talk about how to write a major scale today. Now, you might be wondering why you're looking at a not so great drawing of a car, but this is going to help you remember the difference between sharps and flats, and we're going to really need those later on, so let's talk about those first. So here I am in my cute little car going down the road, and then all of a sudden there's something sharp in the road, and things that are sharp in the road stick up. I don't see it because it's a dark night, and I run it over, and all of a sudden I get a flat tire. When you have a flat tire, things go down. So that will help you remember the difference between sharps and flats. Now let's talk about the pattern that a major scale needs. So the pattern is a pattern of steps, and it's whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And it's the same no matter what note you start on, and it doesn't change ever if you are writing a major scale. So let's look at our piano. We have an octave and a half over here on my piano. And the way you figure out if something is a whole or a half step is by looking not at the bottom of the keys, but at the top. And this is a really easy way to make sure that you're not getting confused. Because if you notice, we have our black keys here and our white keys along the bottom. Now, if you have these black keys, they're not in between every single set of white keys, and that's what can be confusing. So if you look at the top, you can see the difference. So from this key to this key is a half step. This key to this key is a half step. This key to this key is a half step. And so on and so forth. If you look at the bottom of them, you're not going to really be able to tell where those whole and half steps are because you're going up and down. And some people can get confused and skip those. So let's make sure that we're looking at the top of the keys. So if you have a half step, which we're going to indicate with this little kind of triangle symbol, you can write it that way. If you have a whole step, you're going to want to indicate it with a bracket. So now let's go down to our notes on the staff. So I've laid out the notes for you here to start, and we're going to write the D major scale. So we're going to go back up to our piano, and we're going to start on D. So again, our pattern, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half is really important. So let's look at the piano and find a whole step from D. So a whole step from D, if you're looking up here, 1, 2, because 2 halves make a whole, so that takes us to E. And it's E natural. So I've gone down and drawn a bracket over here so you can see it's a whole step. We need another whole step. If you're on E, that's not very clear. Let's make that a little more clear for you. And that takes you to F sharp. And that's really important. And we'll talk about why it's F sharp in just a second. So here's my whole step. And I'm going to draw in a sharp for us. Now, let's go ahead and write down the rest of the brackets in our scale. So the next thing we need is a half step. And remember, we're doing a triangle for a half step. So I'm going to put my triangle in. 3 more whole steps. 1, 2, 3, and then a final half step. So now that we have all of our brackets drawn in, we're going to finish this. So we're at F sharp and we need a half step. So let's draw our half step, and that takes us right to G. So G's natural. From G, a whole step takes us to A. From A, another whole step takes us to B. From B, a whole step takes us to C sharp. So we need to write in our sharp there. And then a half step from C sharp takes us back to D, an octave up. Now, one of the reasons we don't want to call this one G flat is because when you write a scale out, you only want to make sure that you're only using each letter once in an octave. So the repetition up here is an octave up, so that doesn't matter. But here, if we were going to write out the letters of the musical alphabet, we want to make sure that we're not repeating a letter. If we used G flat here, we would have 2 G's, and that would be really confusing if we were trying to read the written music to play it. And the same thing up here with C sharp. If we called this D flat, we would have 2 D's. So that's why you don't want to use those. That is how you write a major scale, and I hope this has been a helpful video for you.